Good morning, beloveds. It's Monday. I can't find anything today, apparently. So, yay! I left my phone somewhere. I left my book somewhere. I left me somewhere. I got up and I was putting my shoes on and I was like, it's dripping on the eaves. Is it raining? It wasn't raining, but it was cold. Not like it was 2 weeks ago, but I was a little surprised at, because it was such an almost warm weekend. At one point my car said it was 84 degrees out there, and I was like, and just 2 weeks ago it was 34 degrees out there. But we are in the month of March. Today's the first day of March, and this is the last month for this book. I started it basically the last week of March in 2020, and so I'm going to finish. I'm going to go ahead and do March all the way through, and just finish up March, and then we will move on to a new book. So, all right. And March is going to be the month of faith. So our initial quotes are, faith is a mental attitude that is so convinced of its own idea, which so completely accepts it, that any contradiction is unthinkable and impossible. That is from Ernest Holmes. There is no chance, no destiny, no fate can circumvent or hinder or control the firm resolve of a determined soul. And that is Ella Wheeler Wilcox. Say that one 5 times fast. She's an amazing poet. If you haven't read her, please look her up. All shall be well, all shall be well, and all manner of things shall be well. And that is Julian of Norwich. Any anxious thoughts as to the means to be employed in the accomplishment of our purpose is quite unnecessary. If the end is already secured, then it follows that all of the steps leading to it are secured also. Thomas Troward. Okay, so in this month, we have a title, we have the body, and then the Bible quote is at the end. So, our title is Faith. A spiritual mind treatment or affirmation of truth or a prayer of faith, once made and completely accepted, is then acted upon by the law of mind, and the effect or result is independent of the person who has made the prayer. In order to understand this idea more clearly, let us take a simple fact in nature. When we bury an acorn in the ground and walk away from it, knowing that someday an oak tree will grow. In the same way, our word is acted upon creatively by some kind of intelligence, force, or law, which knows how to create the form the word implies. Every scientist follows the same method in dealing with the principles of nature. We have every reason to believe that there is a creative law that acts upon our acceptance. This law already is equipped with the know-how to do what we accept it is doing. It is the same law that has governed all prayers of faith throughout the ages and brought about the results that have always been looked upon as miracles. They are miracles in the sense that it is a miracle for an egg to hatch. Faith, affirmation, and acceptance are acted upon by some creative intelligence. Today, I have faith in my own affirmations. I know that there is a power flowing through me, taking the form of my belief, acting upon my acceptance, answering my prayer, and fulfilling my affirmation. Therefore, I am calling upon myself for a deeper faith, a broader conviction, a higher acceptance, a more complete realization. I affirm that every good thing I do will prosper. Every person I meet will be blessed, and every situation I touch will be helped. Everywhere I go, some subtle influence of love and joy and peace will diffuse itself as a glow from the eternal light of heaven itself. And the Bible quote is, "Seest thou how faith wrought upon his works, and by works was faith made perfect. And that is James 2:22. All right. Whew, there was a whole lot in there. It's long. It takes up the whole page. So he has a lot to say about faith. But let's start out with why we use the gardening metaphor. Because the idea, and Ernest is not inventing the wheel. If you go back and look at Ernest will tell you, I'm not inventing the wheel. I went back and looked at the way Jesus did this. And this is the way Jesus did this. So he just codified what was already there. And put it in a form that would be easy for us to remember. Because Jesus didn't always use the same words, but he always used the same method. And so that's what Ernest did. And the other thing that Ernest said is that we get to decide the what, but the how is not up to us. And really, honestly, that takes a great deal of pressure off of you and me. Where we say, this is what I want. And the universe says, all right, get ready, I'm going to bring it to you. Now, it does require us to take steps, but it also guides us. So once we do a treatment for what we want, then we just follow the guidance that we're given, and what we are asking for will come if we have the faith. If you didn't get to see Reverend Arthur yesterday, that was one of the things he talked about, was putting the feet under our treatment, or feet under our prayer. He quoted Frederick Douglass. It was pretty amazing. So it's like, it's not, you just, so it's kind of one of those, think about it this way. If you plant, as he said in here, an acorn, then what you do is you plant the acorn and then you manage the environment, but you don't dig the acorn back up. And that's what we talk about with treatment. So you do the treatment, you state the what, but you don't state the how. But you follow what you're guided to do. So if you're going to grow an acorn, then you make sure you've got good soil and you plant it at the perfect depth, and then you cover it if it gets too cold, and you weed it and you water it if it doesn't get enough rain. So it's like there are things that you can do without completely uprooting your treatment. But you don't tell the acorn how to grow. You don't tell the acorn how to grow. The acorn knows how to do that. And that's what Ernest is saying about the law. State what you want, but don't get too picky about the how. Because if you get too picky about the how, you will limit your choices. You will absolutely limit your choices. So don't get too big, leave the how to the law. All right, so a spiritual mind treatment or affirmation of truth or a prayer of faith, once made and completely accepted, is then acted upon by the law of mind, and the effect or result is independent of the person who made the prayer. So your responsibility is to say what, not how. In order to understand this idea more clearly, let's take an example. Let's take a simple fact in nature. We bury an acorn in the ground and walk away from it, knowing that someday an oak tree will grow. I mean, honestly, squirrels are probably the best propagators of trees, simply because they bury the oak, the acorns, and walk away and forget where they are. But that's what he's talking about. Plant your seed. Plant your what we call the realization. Plant it, and then let it go. Don't get picky about the how, because the acorn knows how. But if you are guided to support the environment, i.e. water, ground cover, you can do that. You can absolutely do that. In the same way, our word is acted upon creatively by some intelligent force or law, which knows how to create the form the word implies. Ooh, he's got long sentences in this one. In the same way, our word is acted upon creatively by some intelligent force capital F, or law, capital L, which knows how to create the form the word implies. So the law knows how to do this. We don't have to tell it how, just what. And be specific, but not too specific, because there's always the highest and best. Every scientist follows the same method in dealing with the principles of nature. We have every reason to believe that there is a creative law that acts upon our acceptance. And our Ernest would argue that if all you got to do is look around in nature to see why we have every reason to believe that this law exists. Because we see it all around us. I mean, if you've walked around, we're a week out from that deep freeze, and you're already seeing green. Like, all of the clovers in my front yard died. I've already got clovers again. Green ones. The law knows how. This law is already equipped with the know-how to do what we accept it's doing. The trick is to accept what it's doing. It is the same law that has governed all prayers of faith throughout the ages and brought about the results that have always been looked upon as miracles. That's why I'm saying Ernest didn't invent the wheel. He just went, hey, there's a wheel over there. We should use it. I'm corrupting Emma there. There's a wheel over there. We should use it. He's not inventing the wheel. He's like, no, we've been doing this. We've been doing this. But why don't we do it the same way every time? There are miracles in the sense that it is a miracle for an egg to hatch. Faith, affirmation, and acceptance are acted upon by the same creative intelligence. The egg and the acorn know what to do. All we got to do is put them in the right environment. Same with your treatment. Today, I have faith in my own affirmations. I know that there is a power flowing through me, taking the form of my belief, acting upon my acceptance, answering my prayers, and fulfilling my affirmations. So right there in that sentence, there's all of the places where we can go and check ourselves. So, I know that there's a power flowing through me. It's flowing through you whether you know it or not. Are you making conscious use of it? It is taking the form of your belief. What do you believe? Reverend Arthur gave us a good idea. What's the first thing you say to yourself when you wake up? What's the last thing you say to yourself before you go to bed? It's a pretty good indicator of what your beliefs are. Acting upon my acceptance. Are you willing to accept what you're asking for? Or are you dealing with I'm not worthy issues? Answering my prayer and fulfilling my affirmations. Do you know what you're praying for? A treatment is a thought wrapped in feeling. So what's the thought? What's the feeling? And if you don't have the feeling, where are you going with this? Or if you have all feeling and no thought, what feeling are you running on? So, therefore, I am calling upon myself for a deeper faith, a broader conviction, a higher acceptance, a more complete realization, which is what we call the third step of treatment. So, recognition, there is one power. Unification, I am part of that power. Realization, this is what I want. Gratitude, no greater feeling in the world than gratitude. You want to power anything? Gratitude's a good way to go. And release. Release. Let go. Let the law do its job. Let the law do its job. And if you are guided to manage the environment, but that's why I gave you the example of the acorn. If the temperature drops below a certain point and you need to cover it, then you cover it. But if the temperature is above that temperature and you cover it, you're going to smother it. So be careful to be guided by the actual conditions, not what you think. And then if you want to weed around it, I get that. You weed out the thoughts that don't work. But don't pull up the oak tree, because you'll stunt the growth or stop the growth. So don't pull up the oak tree. All right. I affirm that every good thing I do will prosper. Every person I meet will be blessed. Every situation I touch will be helped. I mean, Don't we want to always help when we wade into a situation? And if we can't help the situation, we need to make sure we don't wade in. And every person I meet will be blessed. As simple as you being authentically you, giving them permission to be authentically them, and you recognizing that they are a child of God. Even if they don't recognize it themselves, you are holding the space for them to do that. That's a blessing in and of itself. You don't have to do anything more than that. Just recognize a child of God when you see it, which is everyone you meet. All right. Everywhere I go, some subtle influence of love and joy and peace will diffuse itself as a glow from the eternal light of heaven itself. When you embody the qualities of God, you're sharing them. They are flowing through you. They are permeating the environment. It's a wonderful thing. All right. Seest thou how faith wrought with his works, and by works was faith made perfect. It sounds to me like James is telling us to practice. Practice, practice, practice. Because that's how faith gets stronger. We practice it. All right, beloveds, that is March. I'm going to move into the process of my day. I'm going to encourage you, as I always do something loving for yourself, do something kind for yourself, do something compassionate for yourself every day. That is a spiritual practice, because the more you practice it on yourself, the more you will have to share. And the weather's pretty reasonable. Maybe do something to engage your mind and your body today. I was reading an article that was talking about if you need a creative solution, go for a walk. It like upped creativity in the research by 50%. So if you're working on something, you're stuck, go for a walk. Doesn't have to be a long one, doesn't have to be a fast one, just go for a walk. And if you can, as the Japanese say, forest bathe, get yourself surrounded by some trees, even better. All right. I would encourage you to open the windows of your soul and allow the breath of heaven to remind you that you live in heaven now. You are in heaven now. We are in heaven now. Because we are beloved children of God, in whom God is well pleased, always and forever. This is our state of grace. And grace finds us where we are, but doesn't leave us where we are. All right, beloveds? Do what you need to do to make it a wonderful day. All right. Reverend David will be on Facebook Live with you around 5 p.m. I will be back with you at 9 a.m. tomorrow. Have a wonderful day, beloveds, and know you are loved.